Okay.
Well, good evening. Good evening, everyone. And I'm so glad you all took the time to join us this evening for our Healthy Churches webinar entitled Faith in Support. Faith in Support Addressing Prostate Cancer in Black Communities. And we are excited to be in partnership with Janssen this evening. I am Dr. Brunessa Seal, the founder and the CEO of the Balm in Gilead. And I'm excited about tonight's discussion where we can discuss prostate health in Black communities. Because you are with us, we can start to make an impact in the lives of those we love and those we care about. It's an exciting time when we can come and share and get information and discuss and talk and communicate. And then what's key to take this information back to our communities. We're going to start our webinar this evening because we're coming off the heels of Father's Day and Men Health Month. We're going to start with a video, Talk That Talk. And it shows the beautiful relationship of a father and a daughter and how his presence is a present in her life and vice versa. So let's get started with Talk That Talk video.
Dad, can you believe your little girl is engaged? I'm gonna be married right here. So hear me when I say that dancing at my wedding without you, it's not an option. Look, I know how you feel about going to the doctor. You're always saying you never feel seen or heard, but I still need for you to go and get checked out for prostate cancer. I mean, how are you gonna be here for me tomorrow if you don't take care of yourself today? Don't have me out here looking all sorry dancing by myself.
It's time to talk about prostate cancer. It's time to talk that talk.
I really, really love
Dad.
that video. I love that video. I really, really do. And to help us bring the prostate cancer conversation to life, I'd like to welcome the Reverend Dr. Nathaniel Brooks, our moderator for tonight's discussion. Reverend Dr. Nathaniel Brooks, our friend here at the Balm in Gilead, will introduce our panel, and I'm going to let him take it from here. Dr. Brooks, it's always a pleasure to have you on point with the Balm in Gilead. Good evening, Dr. Brooks.
Good evening, Dr. Seal. Thank you so much for the introduction. You all, I am always thrown away at the foundation of the Balm of Gilead and all that it means to the health world. So thank you, Dr. Seal, for your contribution, well expanding over decades. And we thank you for that. And thank you for allowing me to be in this space. I want to welcome everybody to this space, Talk That Talk, Faith in Support, addressing prostate cancer within Black communities, people of color and colorful communities. And so I want to welcome everyone. We have an exciting group of panelists today. Our guests, our panelists, they come with a plethora of skills, knowledge, and what I call life skills that will add to our discussion tonight. So without further ado, let me introduce you everybody to our first panelist. She's known to the world as your favorite urologist. She's been seen on several platforms, Yahoo Style, Huffington Post, SM Magazine, CNN, Insider, Chatter News, Sex with Dr. Jess. I know everybody likes to hear that when it comes to certain areas that we talk about. And blackdoctors.org. She is Dr. Fenwa Milhous, board certified urologist, the co-owner of her own practice, Down There Urology in Chicago, and the star of the TLC network, Dr. Down Below. Let's welcome Dr. Fenwa Milhous to our panelist stage on today. And then beside her is this lovely couple. They look good, y'all. You know why they look good? Because they are celebrating 42 wonderful wedding anniversary years. Some of us didn't make it 42 seconds, but they made it to 42 years, and I am excited for them. Dr. Lionell and Miss Cynthia Sabb. Lionell is an intensive foster care social worker, and Cynthia is an insurance and property manager, and they are a proud parent of a daughter who is a neonatologist and a son who is an IT specialist. So they put all their brain skills together, gave it to their children. Now their children are soaring and doing some amazing things. So I thank y'all. Let's welcome Dr. Cynthia and Dr. Lionell and Cynthia Sabb. And here is their connection. In December of 2022, Lionel was diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer. And his wife had to put on that superwoman cape, come to the floor, step to the scene, and become caretaker, wife, mother, and everything wrapped in one. But together, they're here to tell their story. And so let's welcome Dr. Lionell and Miss Cynthia Sabb. Come on, Dr. Fenwa and Dr. Fenwa Milhous to this stage. I want to thank you, Dr. Seal, again for so much. We're coming off of the heels of Father's Day, and this is a Happy Men's Month in which we talk about men's health and we talk about prostate cancer awareness. As we get started, Dr. Lionell and Cynthia, I want to get your thoughts on the video as it resonated. We just watched a video of a daughter grabbing her father's hands. Dad, I want you there for the future. You're here in my present, but I want you there for the future. And therefore, I need you to get checked. Dr. Cynthia and Dr. Lionell and Miss Cynthia, can y'all tell me what that video meant to you all if you saw it?
Well, for me, it brought back some precious memories. My daughter was married in the early 2000s, and just remembering her wedding day and remembering what a joyous occasion that was for her and for the entire family. That particular piece about the daughter not wanting to dance alone really struck me, because back then I had no idea that I would be in the position that I'm in today. And I was not even thinking about that. I had pretty good doctors. I have about 3 or 4, maybe 5 doctors that I go to and see regularly. And that wasn't an issue. But little did I know later down the road that specific cancer disease would infiltrate my body.
Mm-hmm.
As for myself, it was a struggle for me to watch that. Thinking about my husband and him being diagnosed, I could only imagine if he wasn't there for our daughter during her time, her happy moment. So I'm just glad that he was there, and to see the young lady and her dad dance on her wedding day, it was phenomenal.
Yes, it struck me as a father of a son and a daughter, but specifically my daughter. And I saw that dress, and she wore yellow on Father's Day this weekend. She looked so pretty. And so I do everything to try to keep myself healthy. Dr. Sabb, I'm getting my prostate cancer screening next week as I come into this season of my life. And so when I see a daughter reach out and say, Dad, I need you there, family, I need you here, it brings the whole unit of family together and the need of family and why family is so important. And you all will hear me, even to our panelists, as well as all of our guests. We're gonna talk so much today or hit on the topic of the need of family and the importance of having family there when you're going through some tough times, because it's so important. Dr. Milhous, I want to bring you to the stage, bring you to the forefront. As a urologist, you have seen many sides many facets, many sides to family dynamics. Many fathers probably come in there alone. Many fathers or men probably come in there with other family members. As a daughter and as a urologist, tell us about what struck you about the video.
Well, I am a daughter and a daddy's girl myself. And so just as Dr. and Mrs. Sabb have noted, it immediately, brings some tender emotions. I was walked down the aisle with my father, and it was a beautiful moment. And I don't want to imagine not having had that, taken away from me from disease or anything else. I think about friends and other individuals that I know that had to walk down the aisle without their fathers. In fact, my sister-in-law, when she got married, she had to walk without her father because he had unfortunately passed from prostate cancer. And so it's brings back, some near and tender and bitter emotions. And the importance as a urologist, when I am treating any patient, that you may just see the patient come into the office alone, or you obviously are focused on the patient, but there's a family that loves that individual. In almost all cases, there's, whether it's blood or not, that is also being affected by whatever disease is happening in this person's body by prostate cancer. And so you're not just treating the patient, I mean, you are treating potentially a tribe, a family. And you have to, it just reminds me as a physician, as a urologist, that I have to remember that the family is an important part of my patient's journey and recovery.
Dr. Milhous, the minute a diagnosis is given, a minute a second opinion is asked for, a minute that you have to hold your breath to give some news or to continue to follow through, you become a part of that person's family instantly. And I know you've seen a lot. As you walk into your environment each day, what sticks out about you when you see a father come in or a male come in by himself versus with a family member? What's the difference?
Oh, there's usually if they are accompanied by a woman, family member, whether it's a wife or a daughter, I usually get a lot more detail from the woman in the family, and a lot more questions from the woman in the family. So when they're accompanied by a female family member, that's not, I'm like already know that, okay, I'm going to be prepared for this a longer visit, which is good. When they're alone, it doesn't necessarily, when they come in alone, it obviously doesn't necessarily mean that they're alone by any means. And, I may encourage them to, I always encourage them to, talk to their families or whomever. It's not unusual to kind of get a family member even on the phone during the visit and get them involved. Some patients have been, they don't know what to say or what to ask. They've come to the appointment kind of either reluctantly or being pushed from an outside force. And so trying to get them to, buy into the consult, if you will, can take some more time. But it's time that it's worth spending, even if it means I'm late to the next visit, because that person can leave not only feeling, like they've been seen and heard and given that opportunity, but empowered and maybe just a little less scared over what, is happening to their body. Wow.
That is insightful. I never thought about that. The details can come from the other side, because in the midst of so much, I love that. She just drew, I see why you're the favorite urologist. I'm ready to tell Dr. Bivens, I'm ready to fly up there, all right? When you talk about family dynamics as a pastor, I become a part of people's lives in so many tragedies, events. I see people at the very high moments and people at the very low moments. And it's in those low moments that I become a part of that family. And that leads us to this poll question. That leads us right here to our first poll questions. Let's involve our audience. Audience, you will see a poll question come up. And we need you to take that poll question. It says, what role does family and community and faith play in how you seek care? How do you rely on your family in tough times? There are 4 possible answers. Let's answer them. And let's see what you say. Come on, panelists, and you host, and everybody, we all can vote. And once we vote, we'll get it in. And so let me read through it and vote the right way. Okay, look at this. So 65%, let's talk about this, take a certain role and responsibility to help as a family unit. And right there with 53% come together to support. I pressed that one multiple, if I could have pressed it multiple times, I could come together to support each other as a family. When you look at these answers, you look at pray together as a community. I think that I want to say something about the prayer together and possibility of the 24%. We all know that prayer works from a faith side, but prayer is just not enough when God has blessed living human beings with physicians status to be able to diagnose and help you through. And so often we use, oftentimes we use the spiritual navigation, but spiritual navigation is one thing, but going to get the serious help is another. And so I'm glad to actually see that, not at the 24%, but I wanted just to focus on that you need your doctor and prayer. That's everybody said that you need your doctor and you need your prayer. And so let's look at this. What does this say to you all as panelists? What does this say how our guests have voted? What does this say to you?
I'll go first. Oh, go ahead, Ms. Dr. Sabb.
Yeah, that is very true, because in my case, I have some excellent doctors, and I also have some excellent prayer partners. I solicited input from even my hypertension doctor, and he gave me some information. And when I went in for surgery, believe it or not, there was a calm over me because I had so much support until I put it all in the doctors and God's hands and didn't have any reservations about the outcome. And I just thought that was just truly miraculous in my case, for me to be as calm as I was and as collective, and knowing that everything will be all right today.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Milhous.
Yeah, I think this is great to see that 65% are willing to step up immediately. When you're hit with a diagnosis like prostate cancer, you need people around you that are willing to step up and maybe take on added responsibility or change up their roles, or extend their time and energy to support the individual. So it's great to see that that's the highest mark here. Oftentimes, as a surgeon, I'll see the patient, and then you won't know the extent of their kind of support or tribe until the day of surgery or something like that. And you'll go out, I'll go out to the family waiting, And there's a whole tribe of people behind this patient of mine. Like, you gonna talk to all of us, Dr. Milhous, you know what I'm saying? And it's slightly intimidating, but it's wonderful to see, that, okay, I know that my patient has a tribe of people that are, when I'm in there operating, I want y'all to pray for me too. Pray for your loved one, but pray over me, as a surgeon. So I have a whole, team of family and prayer warriors involved, and most importantly, stepping up to help the patient recover.
Yes, and Dr. Sabb mentioned something that leads us to our next slide as we talk about disparities in the impact Black men. When you talk about, I think during the COVID, many of us kept on hearing pre-existing conditions. And you know what I'm saying? And I said, Lord, many of us are broke. That's pre-existing condition. But when you start talking about health and health disparities, I sat in many rooms where people said, I didn't know my mother had this. I didn't know my dad had this. I didn't know what that was about. I had no idea what this is about. And you start asking yourselves, wow, how much do we know about our tribe? How much do our tribe know that we're going through? And so when you talk about prostate cancer and disparities that impact Black men, here's some statistics that probably are not as familiar to many of us, but it's familiar to us that are here. But it's so true. When you talk about prostate cancer is one of the most commonly diagnosed cancers in Black men, commonly known in Black men, commonly. And I have talked about it with several of my friends. Have you got your exam? Have you gotten this? But it's common because we all know that African-American men or Black men, we just don't like going to the doctors. We'll go to the doctors to talk about our headache, and it's really our toe hurting. We talk about everything else but what is actually going on. When you talk about 1 in 6 Black men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer. And then there's an up to 68% increase the risk of getting prostate cancer if it runs in your family. We don't know about this. And here's a hard disparity, or here's a hard conversation. Many of us don't know that last statistic because we often are not connected to a lot of our families. When it comes to a lot of our fathers are absent, many of our fathers are absent, and a lot of our fathers are absent from the family. We don't know about what his father went through, what his uncle went through. And we know about often the mother side of the family. We know what Nana and Ma went about. When we talk about these statistics, it is so important to know. It's so important for us to know everything. I used to ask the question, and Dr. Milhous, you probably would laugh at this. I'll bring you into this conversation. Remember on applications, they would say, well, tell us about your mother and father health. And I would say, they good. Well, I no longer say they good. I say they good. You understand? I used to write, they good, they okay. But now I say, my father's going through dementia now. My father has high blood pressure. I've learned to write it down because it informs me about the potential impact it can have on me. How important is that to know about that last statistic about your family? History.
Oh, it's important. It absolutely plays into your risk stratification, particularly with prostate cancer. And I will say that, unfortunately, a lot of us don't quite know the history. I think, our elders sometimes went through things quietly, silently, didn't, want to worry the rest. And so we say, oh, we think Papa had something wrong. He had some sort of cancer that went to spread to, other parts, but I don't know the details on on what it is. We don't share. We need to get to change that. We need to, within our families, share these things, these diagnoses and what's going on, so that the generations under are better equipped. It again, to answer your question, family history, particularly, really on the dad's side, mom's family, and when it comes to prostate cancer, mom's side of the family history doesn't weigh into the risk. It's the paternal side that weighs into the risk. So specifically knowing that, is very helpful.
Wow. Wow. Y'all hear that? You got to know about both sides. Got to know about both sides. I mean, you got to talk to your dad, talk to your dad, talk to your dad. Dr. Sabb and Mrs. Sabb, when the diagnosis came and your urologist, your physician walked out to give you guys a moment, take us back to how that felt. What was the look on your face when you looked at your husband, and what was the look on your face as you looked at your wife when that door closed and said, we'll give you some time to discuss, and you took a breath? Tell us about that moment.
For me, it was stop, think, hesitate. I didn't really have words, because at that point, I was not expecting that. You know, we were there to get a diagnosis. And when he gave it to us, it was just devastating.
Wow.
I looked at him. I guess he was at awe as I was. I didn't know what to say. I just didn't know what to say.
Wow. Dr. Sabb?
Well, for me, that particular moment, believe it or not, you know, prostate cancer is so taken over, you know, African-American men, that we talk about it, you know, at the card game and all that kind of stuff. And I was saying, you know, how would I feel if that happened to me? And lo and behold, it did happen to me. And at that particular moment, I was searching for the right diagnosis, searching for what are my options, searching for how is this going to affect the family. And with all of those thoughts swirling in my mind, I kind of got it together and said, you know what? Nothing I can do about this, but what I can do something about attempting to get rid of it. Mm-hmm. And so and I'm going to move forward and be the aggressor rather than being aggressive on me.
Were you glad that early detection was the best detection?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I applaud you and all the other Black Americans here who's listening. Please get your PSA checked as often as you go to your attending physician. If it's every 3 months like I do, or every 6 months, please do that, so that when there is a sudden rise in your PSA, you know, you can go right on in and get the biopsy or whatever you need to do and work on it before it really has a chance to work on you.
Yes. As you talk about early detection is the best detection, you know, oftentimes we hurt, and we don't tell until it really hurts, or until we fall out of something and we say we've been hurting like this for months. Early detection is so important, especially when it's recommended that Black men started getting screened at age 40. And many of us, because we don't look 40, or when our body is physically in shape, we sometimes just skip over those things. When you talk about disparities and you talk about a family history of cancers and breast cancer, prostate cancer, and colorectal cancer, when you talk about the different blood cancers and so much that can take place, there's up to 96% survival rate in prostate cancers caught early. Do y'all hear that? 96% if caught early. And guess what? You are part of that 96% caught early. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. At the age 40, if you're a Black man or have a family history of prostate, breast, ovarian cancer in your family, if you're a Black man or if you have a family history of it, at age 40, go get checked. And why it's so important is because when you talk about the importance, I want to reverse this. Dr. Milhous, why, in your opinion, why don't we get checked? Why do we scare away from it? What is this about? In 2023, we still have men running away from it. How important is it for them to step out of that box, in your opinion?
Well, studies have shown that men, as compared to women, are less likely to go and be proactive and speak to their doctor about healthcare concerns. Studies also show that married men live longer, and I believe it's because they have the spouse that's kind of nudging them to get to the doctor. But there's ideas on like being vulnerable and masculinity and what masculinity is, and I can't show vulnerability and go see a doctor. I feel fine, so therefore I must be fine inside, which we all know that things can be happening in the body that are silent. Cancer is almost always silent early. It doesn't become symptomatic until, when it becomes symptomatic, typically cancer is bad. So, if you use that theory, you're waiting too late to get seen. But there's these antiquated ideas of masculinity and that we need to shed. And actually being masculine is taking control and being able to be there for your loved ones, as long as you can be, and being proactive. Again, that is going to require preventative medicine. You want to be on the front side of it, not on the back side of it. I think obviously, as in our Black community, so now Black men, there's another layer of just trust. And with the medical community, with medicine, and medicine has not earned the trust of Black patients. And I say I'm a medical doctor, I'm in the medical field, and I don't think we have not earned the trust of Black people. And so you have that. Well, what are the doctors are they going to treat me well? Am I going to be valued? Am I going to be heard? Are they going to experiment on me? All of these things play into Black men, which we Black men have the highest risk of prostate cancer, but unfortunately the lowest rates of screening. So you take a group that is at the highest risk, and they have the lowest kind of screening, and we in medicine are to blame in part for this historically. So I think those are the two overriding things that are keeping our men from not coming in. Wow.
And when you look at, we've talked about the barriers that hinder us from proper health care, but now let's talk about the barriers that prevent us from proactively seeking out proper health care. When you talk about the prostate exam, sexual health, cost of care, trusting your doctor, fear of the unknown, that big question mark sticks out. What's on the other side of that tough question, and will I be able to handle that tough answer? Unaware of what age to get screened, and all of this is put out there. One of them that sticks out to us is two of them is the fear of the unknown and the sexual health. And I'm going to circle back around to that. Mrs. Sabb, what barriers did you see in your husband prior to all of this, or what did you help him get over? I want to hear something. I want to hear if I'm correct on something.
Okay. Well, for me, the most common barrier was the lack of knowledge, perceptions, attitudes, and the beliefs of the screening for the prostate cancer. Just not knowing enough. Once I found out that he had prostate cancer, I started to do my research. I went to the internet,
Wow.
Health, Life of Health, and all these sites, to read up so I'd be able to help him get through what was going on with him, and to try to let myself find out what I could do to help him.
Look at that, Dr. Sabb, you had your personal Googler. You was asleep and she was your personal Googler. You turned to the left and she Googled, why is he turning to the left? You understand? But it goes back to what Dr. Milhous said, that when they're accompanied by a woman or a daughter, she's going to get probably more of those in-depth conversations. When we talk about these barriers, this fear of the unknown, the fear of knowledge, I want to hit on one aspect that our panelists and people are talking about, because we often don't talk about it. Men want to know, can we use our tool? We want to know, can we get our tool back? Can we get our tool up? And I know we're all adults on here, but to many men, we want to know, I don't want to have a wife that I can't use my tool, and we don't want to say it, and we laughing about it, but we become toolologists. We won't go to anywhere if it's think it's going to hurt our tool. But that's the fear of the unknown. I had a friend that died, 3 months ago now, of stomach cancer, and that's one of the things that James talked about with his wife, and it was so hard because he says, I don't know if she loves me anymore, because he equated the relationship with the tool. And I said, listen, James, she's here with you in this moment. That's love right there. How did it feel that she became your personal Googler?
I was very excited and elated, to tell you the truth, because she was seeking answers to questions that I was fearful of. As you were saying, not necessarily the tool thing, but life, being on planet Earth, and she would go and I'm talking about in the middle of the night, that phone is on, and you see that light on, and she's there, Googling, man,
I love it.
Yeah, and then she said, well, such and such and such a thing, and I said, no, I didn't know that, but then now I do, and just knowing that you have a person that's there for you in the good times and when the times are tough, and that helps one out to get on up and continue to struggle and continue to fight, and that's what I like most about her. She will Google even about her stuff and her thing. She gonna Google. This is what I saw, and she's showing me the picture, and that's okay. But
I was reading her bio, and I said she's a Googler. I said, I can tell she's a Googler. But here's the shout out. And I want to shout out to the panelists and all to our audience. I want to shout out to all the caregivers, the women caregivers, the son caregivers, the girlfriend caregivers. We got a girlfriend. I want to shout out to the mother caregivers, all of those people who step up in situations such as this and become the heroes and sheroes of another person's life. That tribe, that important piece that we often miss is that when you're going in circles in life, you need someone to balance you and get you focused. And I want to shout out to everybody and thank you so much. The power of, look at that, that's right. Look, the power of having somebody on your side when you talk about this. When you look at caregiving and when you look at people who's willing to step, I want to ask one more question of Dr. Milhous as we move along. What is the hardest barrier, do you think, that you sometimes say, wow, what becomes a hard barrier? Or is there anything on here we don't see?
Yeah, I think the fear of the unknown can be crippling for many people. It's easier to be ignorant. It feels scary to know what the statistics are, or to know kind of what's going on. It's easier again to just, ignorance is bliss, and so living in that. I do think the sexual health barrier is a huge one for understandable reason. Prostate cancer treatment does carry a, not an insignificant risk of erectile dysfunction, depending on the treatment, but with each treatment, there is a risk of erectile dysfunction ranging between 25 to 50%. And so I think what people get caught on when it comes to the sexual health part is that they're like, oh, my tools ain't going to work, and therefore that's it. That's where my story ends. And the reality is, science is a beautiful thing, and medicine is a beautiful thing, that, there is life after prostate cancer treatment. So don't be fearful of screening just because of the treatment. There is life after prostate cancer treatment. There are all sorts of rehabilitation protocols that a lot of institutions start immediately after a surgery to remove the prostate or radiation. And we have plenty of tools in our toolbox, pun intended, plenty of tools in our toolbox as urologists to get the tool back and working in the bedroom, for instance. And so I think people don't get that piece, and they stop at the barrier, and they don't go on, okay, this, I acknowledge this is a barrier, but what's on the other side of it that can help?
I'm a tweeter. So as you were talking, I just tweeted something that I always tweet things that I hear. And when you said it's so easy for people to be and stay ignorant versus getting the facts, I said, that's an aha moment. I take that from Oprah. That was an aha moment. It's so easy for people to stay ignorant. And so what I did, I just tweeted out, and I gave you a shout out too. I put your name behind it, so don't come after me.
Appreciate it. Yes.
No, I don't want you to see it on Twitter and say, wait a minute, I said that. No, I give you a shout out. Give you a shout out. Let's bring the audience back in. Let's bring them back in. Let's bring it forward. Powerful conversation. Great message coming. So much interaction here. Here's poll question number 2. How can we support the caregivers in the life as they support you? All right. There are 7 possible answers. Did I say? Yeah, 7 possible answers. Sharing positive words of affirmation, remembering the balance of caring for one another, reminding them to take time for themselves, supporting myself in ways that lighten their load, having open and honest communication to help find the balance, and praying for your care partners, or G, all of the above. Let's go to the polls. Let's take the poll. Take the poll. Let's take it. Now, a lot of people, I was somewhere and they said, Dr. Brooks, why do you read all the poll questions? Well, I was somewhere and it never occurred to me. And a woman came up and asked, could we read the obituary out loud? And I said, well, they have it silently. And she says, I know, but a part of my family can't read. And I got up and I started reading. So now I'm so conscious because there are so many people that can't read. That's another topic. And so I read it out loud. And so you all know that I'm not trying to read to you, but you don't know who's listening. Okay. Let's go. Did I get the answer? Let's see. No, I didn't get the answer. I'm clicking on everything. All right. All right. Come on, y'all. Let's take the poll. All right, here we go. All right, as we talk about, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be interesting. I'm excited about this one. Talking about caregivers. And, while they're taking the poll, caregiving is so exhausting. And I want y'all to, it can be so exhaustive. Caregiving is woo. I used to think, well, my son is the questioner of questioners. I think he's 5 right now, y'all, and he 5s really well. And he questions everything. I said, oh God, come on, I like this. All right. Let's get to the answers. Can we get the answers up? Okay, here it is. We still got more people taking it, right? Oh, no. Everybody's done. Okay. 76% said all of the above. Y'all have made this easy for us. Y'all cheated. Y'all just went to G. All right. Y'all, but what comes in at second is tied with remembering the balance of caring for one another and reminding them to take time for themselves. When you talk about caregiving, woo, if you have never been in that space or if you've never been faced with being a caregiver, you have no idea. And caregiving comes with taking care of yourself while taking care of another human, while oftentimes the need of the other human being is placed before yours, and that is exhausting. It's like taking care of an infant all over again. It's right there. And so when we look at these, does any of this surprise you? Did Mrs. Sabb, did it become hard to be the Googler, the mother, the wife, the waker up in the middle of the night, are you okay? Do you need anything? I'm going to the store, the texter. You became everything. Trust me, you probably didn't know it, but you became everything. Oh, you said you did. Talk to me about it. Go ahead. She said, yes. You hear that?
Yes.
You hear that? She said, I got 42 years in. I know what I've done. Talk to us about it.
Actually, it's 43 years. Okay?
Updating my fact sheet. Updating my fact sheet. Go ahead.
It's 43, not 42. But actually, run to the store, go get the medication, pay the bills. You know, can you drive me this place? Can you drive me that place? You know, someone else needs something, so I'm going to go do that. But it's really, it's a lot. It's a lot. And you forget to take time for yourself.
What emotions come up as I saw the excitement? You said, yes, I did. I saw the eyebrows raised through those nice looking glasses. What emotion come to mind? And when did you find time to say, "Ooh, I need a break"? Did you find a balance?
Actually, I have not.
Wow.
I have not. Well, once he had the surgery and we stayed around Charleston, South Carolina for a week. After that 5 days, we had to go back to the doctor. We had to remove the catheter. After then, we returned home, but we did go home. We had a tube that was running for the drainage from the abdomen. So it was still doing that, making sure that that was all going well. So then we had to make another trip back to the doctor, you know, and it's a lot. It's a lot, but I'm here. I didn't mind doing it, but I'm going to take time for me at some point.
I don't blame you. Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, go on down to Miami and have some fun. I love Miami. Dr. Sabb, as Mrs. Sabb was going through the stages of caregiving, the phases of caregiving, the mental exhaustion of caregiving, what was going through your mind?
Just really feeling for her, knowing that the sleep is not there, the tending to some of the things that she usually does, church meetings and those kinds of things she put on hold. Those things I really appreciated to the highest, because I don't know who would do that. But my thing was just to get up out of here and get yourself up and go walking and get yourself out of the bed so that you can do as much as you can for yourself in order for her to not have to wait on you hand and foot. That, you know, when you're a man, you really, and I'm used to going, I'm pretty athletic, so I'm used to going and doing as I please and doing what I want to do when I want to do it. And being almost strapped down to confined to the bed and to just the surroundings of the home, that had a psychological effect on me until I was able to, to get outside and enjoy nature and be able to do some things for myself, because I don't want to be a burden on anyone. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that we men, we kind of hold onto and believe in it. We don't want to be a burden, but I tell you, without her there, then, heaven knows where I would be, and she was there.
Wow. You brought an interesting concept up, and I'm going to ask Dr. Milhous about this. I want to bring another mythical character that we often don't talk about when we talk about caregiving, and that's the need for therapy. When you said that psychological effect, the mental part, the need for therapy. Dr. Milhous, when men come in and they come in with caregivers, whether it's a woman, a man, son, daughter, family member, tribe, and they put their hands up and they say, where do I belong in all this? I have no idea what to do. What tips do you have, and how important is doctor caregiver therapy?
So first, I cannot stress that as a caregiver, you have to care for yourself. You have to, take some time. And that's the hardest part of caregiving, is like being able to take a little bit of time for yourself to recharge or whatever. Because if you're running on fumes, if you're burnt out, then you and are mentally discombobulated. It's very hard to support your loved one well or at all. And so I, as a physician in counseling, will oftentimes tell the caregivers, please make sure you get a little, get enough sleep, take a day off, do something nice for yourself. And I think that they don't hear that. And so hearing that from a physician saying that can maybe have a more powerful effect. I also encourage them to get their, ask for help. I encourage them to, it's okay. The caregiver can ask for help. You don't have to be have the burden alone. That's the time not to be prideful. That's not the time to be prideful. Like, ask neighbor, hey, can you drive him to the doctor's office today? I need to, do something, do some cooking or do something else. Ask a friend, reach out to those people that may not be blood that you can reach out to. So please, ask for help. And then I think an important a tip that helps with your mental health later down the road, should it get to this, is getting the affairs in order early. And actually, we should all be getting our affairs in order when we're really healthy. You see what I'm saying? Think about contingency plans for if you are incapacitated or whatnot. What do those look like? And I know it's scary to think about end of life plans. You don't want to think about that, but baby, you don't want to have these discussions in the throes of end of life, of the end of life. You don't want to be having these discussions for the first time when you're at the end of that. It can be extraordinarily stressful then. And so getting affairs in order early is, something that is absolutely, I think, paramount and a part of the discussion, and again, getting back to just mental health and therapy. I'm not a therapist, but I kind of joke that I'm a neuropsychiatrist because like I'll spit out the science and the data and all those things, but oftentimes in my visits, it's just listening to people. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people just want to be listened to, right. For 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, just listening and giving that person a chance to be heard, and so a lot of times it's just listening and taking off my doctor hat and just being a human for this person in front of me in my office.
Wow. It goes back to having that personal communication with your physician, your caregiver. Real quick, Dr. and Mrs. Sabb, what is one tip each of you can give to a caregiver? What's one tip to stay healthy as a caregiver?
Just as Doc just said, which I have not done yet, take time for yourself.
All right.
Do it today.
That's
Mrs.
right.
Sabb.
That's right.
I agree with that 100%. And also, we are just fortunate. She has 2 sisters who live literally 100 yards from us. You know, one lives 2 doors down and one lives just around the corner. And one that's 100 yards is the one that lives the furthest. So go with them somewhere sometimes and be with them. I'm to the point now I can take care of myself, or ask them, and they will do it. We do ask them, you know, to do some favors for us from time to time, and they don't hesitate about doing it. They're usually with me and with us, no matter what we're going through, as well as we'll be with them, whatever goes on with them. And then you're right. And then I have a daughter who's a neonatologist. She is very, very helpful. She went to all of my doctor's appointments for the last 4 or 5 years, and I go at least 5, 6, 7 times a year to different doctors. And she makes it a point to take off from work and go with me. So she is a great resource also. So
wow.
I think we need to go ahead.
That's huge, actually.
That's huge. I'm sitting here like, wow.
Yes.
Wow, what am I missing out on? I'm ready to fire everybody that's in my physician care right now. It's like, what's going on? Like, what's going on, y'all? Did y'all hear this? I'm ready to Google all their names and put them in the chat and let them know. Oh, you got to step your game up. When you know, thank y'all so much. I'm gonna move forward. But Mrs. Sabb, take that time for yourself. Let me say that to you. Miami South Beat, Marriott Stanton. Stay there. It's a little ratchet on the other side at night. But you got 43 years in. Go ahead and run behind that man. You run behind her, and y'all be right there with everybody else running behind people. You know what I'm saying? Just go ahead and take it. Have fun. When you talk about caregiving, Balm & Gilead Jensen has a product. Talk That Talk. Everybody say talk that talk. Let's go to the next slide. All right. When you talk about Talk That Talk, it's an initiative made. It's an educational platform that harnesses the power of Black communities, all found right here in this device. If you have this device called the cell phone, I personally have an iPhone. If you have an Android, you're missing out on the iWorld. All right, but that's between you.
I beg to differ.
That's between.
I'm the Droid person. Okay.
Droid.
But that's between you and your pocketbook. But God speaks through apples since the beginning. Okay. When you talk about Talk That Talk, provide resources with one purpose in mind: to ensure the authenticity, portray the richness of the Black experience, and encourage prostate cancer screenings to help make a difference in the lives of Black men. All right. I downloaded it, and every so often it pops up in my feeds. In my Instagram feeds, and I say, wow, I don't know. I'm going to start using it more, mainly because next week I'll go get my prostate cancer screening for the first time, and I'll be able to talk about it from a different perspective. I've had urologists for friends, and I was so scared to tell them this is my first time, and they said, Nate, get out of here. One of them hung the phone up and said, I can't deal with you right now. I can't deal with you right now. But listen, Talk That Talk. All right. If you have your iPhone, Apple, Android, whatever you have, go ahead and download it. Talk That Talk is it's helpful. You can learn more about prostate cancer. You can be informed of things to do. It has something on there for every aspect of prostate cancer. Let's go to the next slide real quick. And because it allows you to listen, how can you talk that talk? Getting screened early normalizing conversation, and being aware. And so I want to stay here for a second. Let's talk about conversations, okay? We often hear that men are from Mars and women are from Venus. And I'm glad they gave us Mars, Dr. Sabb, because at least we're not Saturn going around in circles. You know what I'm saying? I'll take Mars, you know. But how important was it for you all to have constant communication? How important is it for that? And in real communication, not conversation, because when you talk about cancer, you talk about any reality that's brought to the forefront, you have to have those deep conversations. Did y'all have deep conversations middle of the night? How was it? Tell us about what is the importance of having good conversation as you walk the journey with one another?
Well, we're just talking it over about the option that I chose, and just having a sounding board there, you know. Somebody to bounce some things off of. And she didn't, you know, try to contest anything. She was just listening. And then she went to the almighty iPhone and came back with the information, the facts. I would probably say the facts. And I'm so appreciative of that. And because I was telling her what some doctors were telling me, my doctors were telling me about that, but she went ahead and got the facts. And so that was very important for both of us, I would say.
Get to the facts. You know what, I like that. We have to, and we have so many people working in the background with Balm, Gilead, and Jensen. Y'all get to the facts. Y'all keep that in mind. I like that. Getting to the facts up front. That is very important. Dr. Milhous, I'm gonna bring you into that right there. When you talk about conversations, oftentimes you got to present all this data and you have to get to the facts. When you talk about what scares you the most when conversations are unheard or can't be heard, but you're trying to get through to one more, what helps you ease it a little bit better, or what helps the relationship build?
Well, you know, if it's like presenting a diagnosis for the first time, you know, I think it helps to already have that relationship already there. But I give a moment of, you know, okay, here's your diagnosis. You have prostate cancer. Let's just sit in this for a second. You can't just tell a patient this diagnosis and immediately, you know, kind of go into the data, facts, options, like right a second later. I think giving a little moment of let's seep this in. And I acknowledge that this is sad news. You know, I know that this is, you know, really shocking news. This is sad news. This is not the news you want. This is life-changing news. Acknowledging that. One thing as physicians that sometimes we see these diseases so many times, you know, and we kind of get on autopilot sometimes with some of these things, but you have to, and some of these things seem so, you know, not that big a deal to somebody like us who are seeing these diseases and doing these surgeries all the time, right? But to the individual person that you're taking care of, each patient, that is life-changing. That's scary. That's their body. That's their, you know, it's a big deal for them. And so I try to remember that and say, okay, this is a big deal. This may seem like, okay, well, this isn't, you know, this is just a ordinary day, but this is a big deal. And so giving that moment, and then, you know, allowing for questions. Sometimes you need to allow for a second visit. Like, this can't be done in just one visit. Let's do another visit and allow for more questions, and write these questions down.
I like that.
Yeah, you know, I've done that before and say, okay, I feel like you need more time. And unfortunately, I'm constrained by, you know, the schedule. So let's do a follow-up visit. Let's do a follow-up phone call, that sort of stuff. I think that goes a long way. Patients just want to feel like they aren't just a number. At the end of the day, that you're not a number. And I encourage my patients to seek second opinions if they feel the need to. And I want them to be comfortable with me especially if I'm doing surgery, I always tell them, I want you to be comfortable with me because you are, allowing me to be inside your body. And that's, a big deal. And if you're not comfortable with me, I don't want you to have surgery by me. I want you to find somebody that you're comfortable with, and I will even help you find that person that you're comfortable with if it isn't me.
Wow. You said something else I'm going to tweet out. You're not just a number. And that is so important for when you talk about communication with a doctor. And I like the pause. Information overload. I hear you, but you can't hear me anymore. Information overload. Let's take a break. Let's go to the next moment in which you can ask a lot of questions, journal, get yourself through the moment, get yourself through those emotions. We talk about Talk That Talk. Here's a way that you can learn about Talk That Talk. You can go to talktotalkpc.com, and right here on the left-hand side of your screen, at the bottom left-hand side, you can scan the QR code and scan to follow them on Instagram, Talk That Talk. And really quick, after hearing everything, let's ask the audience one more time. Y'all got one more poll. This is the last poll, one more. All right, after hearing all of this, who are you inspired after today to talk that talk with, to talk about prostate cancer? Let's hear it. Is it a brother, a father, uncle, a son? Who is it? A friend, or is it all of the above? For me, it's my friends. It's my friends. After next Tuesday, I'm going to text all my friends and make sure they use their healthcare package and not just pay for it. All right, let's hear it. Let's see what it said. And while we're going through the poll, I want to thank you all so much. Thank y'all so much. Let's get to this poll. Who are you inspired to talk to about prostate cancer? Your brother, your father, your uncle, your son, a close friend. Who is it? 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 And let's see. Have we come up with it yet? You all, this has been so enjoyable. And I like having fun. I really, really do. Let's see. Make sure y'all vote. Make sure y'all vote. All right, here it is. Here it is. 25% said all of the above. And then 25% said your brother and a close friend, 31%. Y'all hear that? A close friend. Look at that. I told you mine was a close friend. I want to talk to friends about it. I want to get, as we wrap this up, don't forget to download, go to talktotalkpc.com, talkthattalkpc.com, talkthattalkprostatecancer.com, and download it. Dr. and Mrs. Sabb, what are your final thoughts? Tell us something. What was your aha moment that you knew you can get through this? I'm gonna give y'all the question. What was the aha moment to say we can get this done together?
Well, my aha moment was just going through this and verbalizing and reminiscing my feelings and fears and about this whole situation, that I need to make a special effort to advocate for prostate cancer testing. If it's just, just making sure you're being tested, and it's not going to hurt you you just give a little blood and you can be okay, and do that often. I see where we're supposed to do it at 40, but we as Black males, we might need to do it, start monitoring our PSAs at 21. You never know, because this is very serious. And I'm here for a reason, and I think I'm here to make every African-American and every male aware of prostate cancer and its vulnerability, and our vulnerability to assess it in our bodies. So that's my aha moment.
Wow.
Well, for me, I guess getting to talk to the other panelists and hearing what they had to say in reference to prostate cancer, I give everyone a thumbs up It's been very knowledgeable. I've learned some things that I didn't know. So being able to talk to the urologist and hearing what everyone has to say, I was very appreciative. And I thank you all for inviting us as your panelists.
All right, let's talk to our urologist in residence. Dr. Milhous, talk to us.
First of all, Dr. and Mrs. Sabb, it's been a wonderful hearing your story, and congratulations on 43 years. Y'all are a beautiful, beautiful couple. I've just like been looking at y'all the whole time of this.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And I think the key thing here is conversation can be powerful. Conversation can be life-changing. Whether that's conversation between a father and a son, conversation between a husband and a wife, conversation between a friend and a friend, Reverend Dr. Brooks, conversation between a doctor with the patient, conversation between a doctor and a caregiver can be empowering and life-changing. And for all of us to just to be use our voice and to engage in conversation, and also to use our ears and to listen. And so that is my take-home message, is that we should empower ourselves with conversation.
Right.
I'll give my 43 seconds on it. Listen, talk to your friend, your father, husband, caretaker, someone you know. Prostate cancer is hurting our communities, is hurting many African Americans, especially Black men and people of color. Take the time to have that conversation. Go to the doctors, write down your questions. Don't be afraid of the hard answers, and know that you can get to it. And also know that early detection is the best detection. And find yourself a great urologist. Where can they, is there a urologist platform where people can go statewide, or?
I don't know. I don't think that it actually exists. But
we can make some money. You hear that, Doctor?
Now I think, yes.
Now that would be interesting. Bomb McGilly, y'all put some urologists on your website, make some money now.
If it exists, I don't think I'm on it, and I should be.
Oh, you better be on it. You better be on it. You're the world known. All right, really quick. We have one question, and then we're going to close out. How do you get over the feeling of being a burden to ask for help, knowing that this is a big act of your loved one? They're talking about being a caregiver. How do you get over that feeling of being a burden? Let's answer that together. People feel like they're a burden. They don't want to ask for help.
Really, the other person has really a lot of control of that. For my case, my wife doesn't make me feel like, you know, she is not happy to do it. She's not reluctant in any way to help. We have been through different issues between the two of us, and I tried to be there when she had some surgeries herself, and so she understands what I was doing when she was down, and I definitely understand what she has done while I was down. So I think it makes you bond a little closer because they're not doing it and saying something that is negative about doing it. It's more like, I'm gonna do it because I care about you and I love you. So that's the bottom line for us as a family.
And that's a wrap.
Well, listen, it has been a pleasure. It has been a really good pleasure of being able to have faith and support addressing prostate cancer in the Black communities, presented by Jensen and Balm and Gilead. Dr. Panessa Seal, come back and give us our final thought, and we'll close out.
Thank you so much. This has been an amazing webinar. Thank you, Dr. Brooks. You always keep it real and keep it moving. Dr. Milhous, I got your number. I'm going to call you up because I've been making some notes. Dr. Milhous, Dr. Milhous, Dr. Milhous. And thank you so much for your work. And we're going to bring you, like I said, I made some notes. I want to see you again. Thank you so much. And
I'm happy to see you. I'm happy to be anybody's urologist on this panel and in the audience.
Yes, indeed. Dr. and Mrs. Sabb, thank you all so much. You know how much I love you and appreciate you. Thank you for just sharing. And I know this was a big thing for you to come on and share, but I think this was your debut. I think you're gonna be asked over and over and over to come and share, because what you did tonight is what is needed to be able just to sit and just give it, just let it go. Because we always have to put truth to power, and you all did that tonight. So thank you all so much, because indeed you've been a bomb in Gilead. Dr. Brooks?
You guys have a most amazing time. Take time for yourself. Thank you, everybody. Have the most amazing day. And even if you don't go messing up nobody else's.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Dr. Seal. Bye-bye, Reverend Dr. Brooks. Bye-bye, Sabb.
Thank you.
Be blessed.
Same to you.